Hey everyone, it's MJ Gallagher here, author of Accelerate and the unofficial Final Fantasy VII novelisation. I'm just doing my latest author video blog. Apologies for anyone who's been waiting. It has been almost a month since my last video. It's really just due to a lot of stuff going on in my personal life, kind of other commitments, day job, kids, things like that. I have fallen behind a little bit on my projects, the video obviously being one of those. So apologies to anyone that has been following that. I have managed to see Ready Player One. That was really a treat to myself recently. I haven't read the book, so I didn't really know what to expect going in. I thought it would, understandably just be a bit flashy. I wasn't expecting the plot to be so well constructed. I was very very delighted when I came out of the cinema. I thought it was an excellent film. I thought the plot stood up, the characters stood up, and I think the entire purpose of it, the book itself was so well received. Simply because it kind of targeted a lot of pulp culture references from the 80s, and it had a massive sentimental value to a lot of readers. I think what they did this time round is kind of keep a lot of the 80s elements, but identify that the more modern cinema goers would relate better to 90s references or noughties references. So that came in really cool. Obviously, the Spielberg himself adding elements. The T-Rex from Jurassic Park was a personal highlight of mine. I thought the whole thing was brilliant. It really did touch on my childhood. Just again being able to see the T-Rex, see the DeLorean, see the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of popping up, or video game references such as the Halo Boys, things like that. I thought was really really cool. The car chase sequence at the beginning of the movie is one of the most spectacular things I've seen in a long time. And the whole thing altogether, I was very very impressed with it. Highly recommend going to see it if you are interested in the kind of sci-fi or just the kind of sentimental side of things. It was very cool. Like I said, I have been kind of falling behind a little bit. One of the biggest things that we have done recently with the project is we've actually launched the Accelerate website, or relaunched it more accurately. It has been about 2 years in the making. It was my project partner Alroy Yove, who is a visual effects specialist who's finally able to get it going. I would highly recommend checking it out if you are interested in Accelerate, or even if you're not. There's a huge amount of content on there to do with history, mythology. If you are looking kind of for services for visual effects, artwork, we do have those. If you're looking to promote your own art, or if you're a writer or author and want to promote your own work, we will kind of feature that as well. So do check it out. It's at www.accelerate.org. Lots and lots of stuff going on there, or even just for casual fans of the project. There's a lot of kind of information about the series that hasn't been available before. You can check that out. There's the free downloads of the 90-page preview edition of the novel, and various bits and pieces of media, artwork you might not have seen before, trailers you might not have seen before. And it does give you the ability, if you are thinking about reading the novel or the preview novel, it does actually give you the option of leaving a review and having your name on the website as part of that. I also want to give a massive shout out to Tara Delaney and Robin Berg in particular, who have recently reviewed the 200-page edition of the novel. Now, that's not really available to the public at the moment, but it is available to book reviewers who are interested in kind of going that extra mile, looking over it's effectively the first half of the book. It kind of finishes on a cliffhanger. So if you are interested in reading the 200-page edition in exchange for an honest review, please do get in touch with me. You can either do that on my Twitter. Twitter handles at FF7 or VII novels, or you can get in touch with me through Facebook, through YouTube, just on the usual channels, or even email me at author@accelerate.org, and I'll be happy to discuss anything with you. Like I mentioned, a big part of the website itself, and because of the nature of the Accelerate project, It does have a lot of kind of mythology information there, in particular a kind of encyclopedia. The way that I build that is kind of every week I release kind of various bits and pieces of information in a kind of alphabetical order. We kind of call it Myth Mondays. The last few weeks, obviously, it has been a couple of weeks since I last spoke to you. We've covered Urdabrun, which is a kind of well at the bottom of the cosmic tree in Norse mythology. It has a lot to do with kind of fate and how the lives of men are decided. Following on that, we had another kind of a couple of Norse entries, V for Vanir, who were a race of gods separate to the kind of war gods that Odin and Thor were part of. After that, we have wargs. Wargs are like giant wolves that originally come from kind of Norse mythology, but they are kind of spread across Germanic mythology. Anyone who's familiar with Lord of the Rings or Tolkien's work, he based his wargs closely on the kind of the Norse version that included the giant wolf Fenrir, who had a large role in the end of the universe in Norse mythology. Following on from that as well was the Mayan underworld, Xibalba. Of all the things that I've actually read mythology-wise in the last couple of years, Xibalba is up there with one of the craziest things I've ever come across. The underworld was basically it's where souls went to be tortured by the death gods and demons. And a lot of it is, it's a combination of being quite amusing and being absolutely horrendous. I would highly check that one out. It's a good fun read. Patrons also have access to some of the other entries in advance. At the moment, Yazata's Y or the Y entry is out. Yazata's being one of the types of angels from kind of ancient Persian mythology. And following on from that, next week will be Z for Zeus, obviously the thunder god, the sky god from Greek mythology. So do keep an eye out for that. Obviously, following on from that, we'll go straight back to A and possibly take Asgard from Norse mythology again. I've been focusing quite heavily on the Norse mythology simply because as we build the encyclopedia on the website, the first novel, Extella Array, The Chronicles of Astrone, actually focuses heavily on Norse mythology, so it makes more sense to do it that way where possible. But do keep an eye out for that. Again, as I mentioned in my last video, I'm focusing quite heavily at the moment on the Nibelheim project that I'm doing for KuppelCon. As a result of that and the kind of other commitments that I have, I've kind of taken a break from the main Final Fantasy novelisation, the Setron Legacy for now. Don't worry about that. I will come back to it kind of stronger than ever. I don't have enough time to do both, unfortunately, and I do have deadlines to meet for the Nibelheim project, which is due to be made available in September. As you know, because I won't be releasing a huge amount from the Setron Legacy, I've decided that I'll release bits and pieces, or particularly of new content from the Nibelheim project that will be available to patrons on my Patreon account. At the moment, the second chapter, which follows one of the Turks from before Crisis as they arrive at Mount Nibel. That's already available, with more work coming in the next couple of weeks. On top of that, Crimson Sun, who's doing the artwork for the project, has released a few bits and pieces. You can see those either on my own Patreon or on Crim's Patreon. As always, the work itself is fantastic. Do check it out, but it is exclusive at the moment to patrons, so you won't be able to see that unless you either subscribe to myself or to Crim. So do have a look at that if you can. One of the, following on from that, I've written another Crisis Core scene which will appear in the book. That's kind of touching on the relationship between Zach and Aerith. The one I'm working on at the moment includes Tifa and kind of the introduction of Tifa into the Nibelheim incident and how she meets the Turks and becomes the guide for later in the story. So there's a lot going on from that side of things. Hopefully, like I said, I'm going to share some of that later next week or the following week. In addition to that, I'm going to release for patrons, it'll be the final part of the Untitled Chapter 16, which is basically a council taking place in a massive glass tree in the elf city. At this stage in the book, it's kind of tying a lot of things together, and it's kind of setting the scene for what's going to happen in the second half of the story. So if you are following that, it is something want to look out for. It is a very interesting part of the story, if I do say so myself. And because patrons always have access, the second last part will now be available to the public. So that's part 3 is available to the public, part 4 is available exclusively to patrons. After that, I'll need to decide what I want to do with regards to how I'm releasing the web serial, because I do have future plans to start releasing elements of it on sites such as Wattpad, but I'll speak about that more in a future video. At the moment, again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, the big thing has been over the last couple of weeks just getting the Accelerary website up and running. In celebration of that, I do have a small competition running. It's really just for fans to have access to a handwritten postcard from myself. Doesn't matter where you live in the world. Basically all you need to do is just kind of like and leave a comment on this video. And I'll kind of pick a winner at random. After that, I'll kind of get your contact details. No matter where you are in the world, I will send you a handwritten postcard. And the image that you just saw, this particular postcard, is exclusive. You're not going to get a copy of this anywhere else in the future. So if you are interested in hearing from me personally, do get in touch, do leave a comment. I'd be delighted to hear from you. And as always, if you are able to support me on Patreon, I would very much appreciate it. Just $1, $2, anything you can afford on a monthly basis would be massively helpful to myself, just to encourage me to keep going, and obviously to allow me to offset any costs that I do have within the projects. In exchange, you do get quite a lot of rewards. You have access to some of the Project Nibelheim stuff, you have early access to Accelerary, you have exclusive access to behind the scenes podcasts, all the way up to postcards every month from myself, or having your name appear in every edition of the book. There are so many rewards, so do check those out. And again, if you do have any questions or comments or feedback, anything at all, please do get in touch with me at the Twitter or Facebook or any other contact details that I mentioned earlier in the video, and hopefully speak to you again soon. Take care, bye bye.